Hey there everybody. Today we've got a couple Am I the A-hole stories for you. Let's get into it so you can be the judge. First up, am I the a-hole for not telling my wife that I'm dying? Male, 31 here. For the past 15 years, I've been dealing with a medical condition that requires constant medication and consistent doctor's visits. I had always been projected to live until 50, 60-ish. However, a recent complication has cut that down to 12 months, 16 at best. In about 10 months, my condition should start getting a lot worse. After 12 months, I'll essentially be living in the hospital. I've been married for 4 years, no kids. I haven't had the heart to tell my wife the news. I don't even know how. We always knew I'd die younger than I wanted to, but we never expected it to be this soon. As much as I know I should tell my wife, I don't want my last year to be plagued with an impending doom. My wife and I have always talked about living abroad somewhere, maybe Australia, but we've never found the time or money to do so. I've been saving up to go to graduate school, however, I don't see much point in that now. So here's my idea. Take some of that money and take my wife to Australia for a few months and enjoy the time together. I have a job I can work remotely from anywhere, and she has a job that she can easily find work anywhere. We can work part-time and enjoy our time together. When we get back, or maybe towards the end of it, I will break the news to her. I just wouldn't want the trip to be ruined for us by constant reminders of me dying. I know my wife, and she's very emotional, to the point where I feel like she will be crying every day and not enjoying herself. I want this memory to be a good one for her, and not plagued by my time ticking down. Am I the a-hole for putting off telling her I'm dying? Note: I have life insurance that will take care of her, so I'm not too worried about spending this money now on this trip. And I plan on talking to her about a sperm bank just in case she decides she wants my kids in the future, as well as premised birthday cards and other things for her to have. Before we get into the update, I first want to share that I don't think you are the a-hole OP. My main suggestion is that you write her a letter, because if you choose not to tell her, which is a decision I am by no means qualified to help you make, and to try to enjoy your time together, lots of people here have made the point that she will be very shocked and hurt, and rest assured that if you choose not to tell her, she will be shocked and hurt. However, taking that into consideration, you have some options to address that. What if you wrote her a letter? Explain why you didn't tell her. Explain why you wanted her to be able to enjoy, truly enjoy, the time she had left with you, and you wanted to be able to do the same. Justify your reasoning, so to speak, so she can try to understand. Have someone give it to her once you're gone. You know her better than anyone else here. You seem to be asking what she would want and what's in her own best interest. Would it be better for her to not know, or would she want to know? But do you have an opinion? Do you really want something one way or the other? Here's the update. Hey all, I wasn't sure if I was going to make this update, but things are getting gloomier, and I feel that I owe you guys the closure you deserve for all the help you gave me, as well as the multiple news stories. Although I didn't respond much, due to everything being so new and overwhelming, I want each of you to know that I read every single comment and message multiple times over the past year and a half. I did end up telling my wife soon after my post. She took it rough, as expected. It ruined me to see her that way, but I knew that I needed to tell her. She did enjoy reading through the original thread though, as many of you had heartwarming thoughts and messages. We took the time that we needed to ensure that she would be set up as best as possible. Following that, we went and spent the best 4 months of my life in Australia. The experience was amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better dying wish. We came back just in time for COVID. Honestly, I was scared to death, and still am, but somehow I've lasted this long. I've lost much of my strength, and hospice has come in to set up the house and ensure that I am comfortable enough to die. I had thought that I would be dead by now, so it is hard to complain about getting a little extra time. I've left a large collection of greeting cards in possession with a friend. Birthdays, first anniversary without me, remarriage, children's birth and birthdays, if she uses my sperm. I didn't tell her about any of these, just because some of these events aren't guaranteed, but I know that they can help if the time comes around. Overall, I'm content, about as content as I can be. There's a lot of things I would have done differently in life if I had known this would happen, but that's unfortunately out of my control. However, I do know that I did the most I could have done with the remaining time I was given. I'm just glad that I had time left while I still had my health, as I know that many aren't as lucky. Thanks again for all your help. I'll answer any questions you guys have, so long as it isn't personally identifiable, which includes my medical information, as my town paper was thoughtful enough to write an article about me. Just be patient, please. Even typing for long periods of time gets painful. I'm so sorry for this entire situation and everything you're going through. This is a very scary and sad situation, and I can't even begin to imagine how hard it must be for you. I think it was very courageous of you to tell her despite your original concerns. While it may be really hard to talk about it with your wife now, I do suggest you make her a video diary or write her letters so that she can look back and have a permanent memory of you when she is ready. Maybe start a video diary for her. Just short recordings, something to look back. I don't know, just a thought I had. I'm truly sorry for all you've gone and are going through. I'm glad you get to live the last moments of your life with a person you love. Next up, we're going to change the mood a little bit and get a little crazy. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife her parents are not allowed to ever watch our son again? My wife and I have a 2-year-old son and have been married for 4 years. Our anniversary was a month ago, and we found a nice, secluded cabin on Airbnb and rented it out for a long weekend getaway. My wife asked our parents if they would be willing to watch our son, and they agreed as long as we dropped him off at their house. That worked for us since it was on our way anyway. I was raised Lutheran and my wife was raised Catholic, but neither of us currently go to church and have not had our son baptized. My mother-in-law knows this and hates it. She thinks our son needs to be baptized or he will burn in hell. She's that kind of Catholic. So we go on our trip, and when we pick up our son and ask how his weekend went, Mother-in-law says everything went fine and that she has saved my son's soul from the devil. I ask her what she meant, and she says she had our son baptized that morning at her church. I tried my best to keep my cool so I didn't scream at mother-in-law in front of my son, but I pretty much grabbed my son and left. On the car ride home, I was fuming and told my wife as calmly as I could that this would be the last time her parents have our son unsupervised. She tried to downplay what her mom had done, but I told her we need to wait until we get home to talk about it because I'm not fighting in front of my kid. When we got home and had a chance to talk about it, things got heated. I told my wife I no longer trust her parents with our son, and that if they did something like this behind our backs, I can't trust them to respect our wishes as parents in the future. I said this was a huge breach of trust, and I will forever look at her mom differently. She continued to try to defend her mom, saying that she was only doing what she thought was best for her grandson. She even downplayed it by saying that it's just a little water and a few words and we don't go to church anyway, so what does it matter? I told her that under no circumstances will I allow her parents to watch our son by themselves again. I said that we can still let them see their grandson, but only if we're present. I also said that if she doesn't see what the big deal is with the situation, that maybe we aren't on the same page as parents and maybe we need to see a counselor. She started crying and said that this isn't the kind of decision I get to make on my own, and I'm an a-hole for trying to tell her what kind of relationship her parents can have with our son. I told her that I no longer have any trust or respect for her parents, and that I don't know if there's anything they can do to repair that. I told her I don't care if it makes me an a-hole, but what her parents did was unforgivable in my eyes, and they put themselves in this position to lose privileges with our son. She's been trying to convince me to change my mind for the last month, but I'm not budging. To me, this is a hill I'm willing to die on. I don't think you are the a-hole. This was a huge breach of trust. Nothing religious should be done unilaterally either by the parents or in this case grandparents. I do agree that counseling would be a good avenue for you both to get on the same page. Also, apparently you're an a-hole for telling her that her parents can no longer see your son unsupervised, but they aren't a-holes for the unauthorized baptism? What? Okay, so let's see what the update looks like. First off, I want to thank everyone who sent me supportive messages and advice. I never expected my post to get so much attention. Since many of you requested an update, here we go. Turns out, some of you were right. My wife was in on it. I confronted her a couple of days after I posted and directly asked her if she knew that her parents planned this. She broke down and confessed everything to me. Mother-in-law had been pestering her about baptizing our son nonstop, and my wife finally caved. My wife has been working from home during COVID while my job requires me to go into the office. My wife and mother-in-law started doing Zoom meetings with mother-in-law's priest to start the baptism process. They lied to the priest and told him that I was okay with baptizing our son, but didn't want to be involved. The priest allowed it, and they started doing online baptism classes while I was at work. My wife admitted that she planned it around our anniversary getaway, and that mother-in-law had somehow convinced the priest that her and father-in-law would be the only ones in attendance. My wife told me that I wasn't supposed to find out, but mother-in-law couldn't keep her mouth shut for even one day about it. Their intention was to keep this from me permanently. I did contact the church to let them know the truth. I talked with the priest and he was surprisingly helpful. He said he would take the proper steps to make sure mother-in-law is no longer welcome in their church and to reach out to the local parish to see what further steps need to be taken. I have yet to hear back from them on that. My wife and mother-in-law are mad that I got her kicked out of her church, but I don't care what they think or feel anymore. These people who I love and trust had betrayed me, and I felt a range of emotions I didn't know existed. My wife begged for forgiveness, but the fact that she didn't come clean on her own makes me feel she would have kept this from me unless I confronted her. She's willing to do therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I don't know if I want to put in the work. I feel like there's no coming back from this. I contacted a divorce lawyer and started discussing what a divorce would look like, and if there's any way I can add provisions to a divorce agreement that would keep my in-laws from seeing my son unsupervised. He's been very helpful, but I have not given him the go-ahead to actually file for a divorce yet. I feel I'm still too angry about the entire thing to think rationally and want to give myself time to fully grasp what a divorce will mean for me and my family. My wife and I aren't talking much. I pretty much go to work, come home to play with my son, go to bed, and repeat. I don't know what the future is going to bring, but I do know that without the support and help from people here, I don't think I would have had the clarity I do now. I'm so sorry that your wife betrayed you. It's really inexcusable at this level of deception. I hope that in time, you heal and forgive for your son's sake, whether that be for good co-parenting or staying married. I don't know your wife's childhood circumstances, but they don't sound great with a mother like that. It could be possible that your wife is in a fog, fear, obligation, and guilt cycle with her mother or parents. We are still responsible for our actions, but when in this cycle, it's hard not to choose to keep the peace or not to rock the boat. You're probably her safety net, and she chose to betray you so that she could appease her abuser, manipulator, whatever you want to call her. She probably figured if you never found out, no harm is done, and for a short while, that fog is gone until the next time. Again, inexcusable, but if any of this rings true, your wife needs help. It's so hard to break these cycles, and it won't be healthy for your son to be around it in any capacity, supervised or not. I could also be way off base and projecting, and if so, please ignore. Wishing you the best, and I hope you find happiness and peace, whatever your decision ends up being.